She's a 9/11 survivor who assisted others to safety. As a consultant, she works to strengthen foundations who support military families. Retired Colonel Mary Lowe Mayhugh in this week's Vets Talk.
And I'm lucky to follow such great speakers tonight. You know, a little bit about my career myself. You heard that 37 years of service. When I went into the military, it was a little different than it is now. And I think one of the greatest things I've been able to see from the time I came into the service where women were really, they weren't sure how to deal with us in the Army. They didn't quite know where they fit in because we had gone from an all-volunteer force in a conscripted service, and when we went to this all-volunteer force, all of a sudden, they needed women, they needed us, and we do good things. But it was very interesting to see that transition where you could only hold a few jobs to finally, when I'm ready to retire, all the positions are open to women. That's a big accomplishment. Everything is open for all my sisters that follow behind me. And I know the other two ladies that were here, you know it was a little challenge out there. But a couple of things that the Army has taught me. Number one, you can get through anything. Your faith, your friends, and your family are always going to be there for you no matter what. And they will be the core that helps you get through all those challenging things in life. Second, there's going to be obstacles out there. No matter what you do or where you are in life, there's going to be obstacles. And you have to find a way of getting around them, through them, over or under them. That's why I'm a good runner. One of the events I run is a steeplechase, and people ask me, well, why do you like running it? I said, you know, I have Army training. I can get through anything. So I think you have to remember that your training in the Army will help you get through anything. I've had an amazing career. When I went in, as I said, it was not a time when women were always getting all the positions, but I decided I was going to set the example. I was going to prove people wrong that women could do some of those positions. When I went to take my company command, I knew that they had never had a female commander before, that the commanders before me probably weren't the greatest commanders, but I said, you know what? One of my best skills, I can run. I know I can beat almost any guy out there. So I said, I'm going to do a PT test with them my very first day, and we did. And I think all but 3 of other people in my unit beat me. And they were about dying, they were wheezing and coughing and about ready to throw up at the end of the 2-mile run. I asked them if they were ready to run again. I was ready to go. But I set the stage for success because I proved to them that I was not afraid of hard work, I was not afraid of a challenge, and I was going to go and put myself out there and lead them. And they respected that. They also respected the fact that I stood up for them when things weren't always good. When we were at one of our training exercises, we were running into some issues, and they were all watching me as I go over and I throw my helmet down on our commander's Jeep and start yelling at him about some things that were going on that shouldn't have been going on. And I grab my helmet and walk away, and they were all just watching me. But I was willing to stand up for them to make sure that things were fixed and to do what was right. And that's an important thing to remember anytime in your career. It's about doing what's right. There were some times in my career where people were trying to undermine me and do things behind my back, or they didn't like me, but I always did what was right. And by doing what's right, making sure you know what's right, you will always win in the end. And sometimes people don't like change, and when you're trying to push people to do their jobs, they don't always like that. But I pushed people hard, made them do their jobs, held them accountable, and always did what was right. And I took care of my people in the end. My career's been kind of a squiggly line. After having the field time, everything else, I ended up working in Headquarters Army, being an Inspector General, and then going on to Office Secretary of Defense, where I really had some great opportunities to change the organization. And I think those are some of the accomplishments I am most proud about in my career, are the ability to transform organizations. Now, when I retired, I had to kind of think about what I wanted to do, okay? And so my advice to people that are transitioning, think about what you like to do. What about your career made you want to get up every day and say, this is fun, I enjoy this? I like changing stuff. I like finding where the friction points are between policy and execution. We have this big idea up here. Why isn't it working down here? How can we make things better? I really enjoyed doing that. And so actually today I just accepted a position with MITRE, and they're a federally funded research and development corporation, and I'm going to be in their government and business transformation section so we can go out and fix things. And that's one of the things I've always liked doing. The other point I talked about in the Army, one of the things that it taught us is that it'll teach you to get through the hardest days of your life. And in anybody's career and in your life, you're going to have some really, really hard days. You're going to lose friends, you're going to lose family. And I think you learn to become resilient. You rely on your faith, your friends, and your family again. I've lost a lot of friends over the time to battles, to war, to 9/11, to helicopter crashes, to IEDs. But I guess the one death I was never very well prepared for was losing my son. About a year ago, I lost him February 13th, the darkest day of my life. And it was to drug addiction. And as I was unraveling the death, we found out that he was suffering a lot from secondary post-traumatic stress. And when I looked back on his life and saw the different events that impacted his life, with the first one in the 3rd grade, a veteran murdering his wife and then killing himself in front of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. My son was in 3rd grade. This gentleman was his basketball coach, and his daughter was in my son's class, and his son was a year ahead of my son. And then 9/11 occurs a few years later. I survive. His teacher, her husband, dies. And then I go away, and I'm deployed, I'm off doing things. These things impact your children. But this is one of the things we never knew, how things were impacting our children. And then, my son, a few years later, had some surgery. And one of the things, as I'm unraveling this, one of his colleagues referred to him as the perfect storm. That individuals who face several incidents of post-traumatic stress are much more likely to become addicted to opiates. So he had no chance. Going in for surgery, back-to-back surgeries, he became addicted. He had no choice. He was the perfect candidate with addiction written over his name for somebody that was going to run into those problems. And the thing that's really sad about this afterwards, he was like me. He was always going out there trying to fix stuff. He recognized he had a problem and was trying to overcome his addiction, but was running into a lot of obstacles with healthcare, not only with my TRICARE initially, but then when he aged out and was in Blue Cross Blue Shield, ran into constant problems. So shortly after his death, his colleagues and coworkers approached me about, we need to do something, because he was very active in the veteran community. He himself never served, but knew how committed I was to the great nation we live in to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And he took that literally, was my biggest advocate, like you said. He was always the one that pushed me to go harder, work harder, jump higher, to change things, to fix stuff. So he was my personal cheerleader. So we needed to figure out a way to change something really terrible and fix that. So the colleagues approached me about starting the foundation, so we started the John P. Mayhugh Foundation with 3 main lines of effort, and that was to educate our public and provide better access to resources for people that are in recovery, and to look at the different methods that are out there for treatment options that are non-medical intervention. So the moral of the story is here, bad things are going to happen to us. Our Army training has prepared us to find ways to fix stuff, overcome adversity, and continue to make this country the great nation it is. Thank you.